Welcome to the Power Couples Rock podcast, where our mission is to build a collective community of marriages, where we encourage, inspire, and support one another in order to have masterful marriages. We're Carlos, Catherine, Chris, and Sonia. Please check us out, powercouplesrock.com. Follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. We believe that one of the most amazing legacies we can leave in life is a great marriage. So we hope you'll listen, learn, and love the conversation. Let's power up.
Good day, Power Couples. This is Carlos and Catherine Green of Power Couples Rock.
Hey, what's up, Power Couples?
We are here at the UCB Weekend Experience here in Columbia, Maryland, and we want to introduce you to another couple who is doing some dynamic things on behalf of not only marriage, but also marriage and family. And we're honored to be in the studio today with doctors. I say it with an S. Doctors George and Candace James.
Yeah, say what's up to the people.
What's up, people?
What's up?
Yes. These are our people, right?
I think I want them every time we get announced. Like, this is our announcement.
Yes.
Exactly.
I like it.
Dude, from the first time we met you all 3 years ago, the very first UCB experience, there was just this natural connection that we had to you all. I think we were just drawn to you all.
Same here.
I don't know because y'all were beautiful people or what, but it's like, hey, we got to get to know this couple.
Absolutely.
I just think they just had this very essence about who they were and what they were doing. And I'm with Carlos, just drawn into a connection. And we've had great conversation.
Yes.
During Eusebia, after Eusebia. And we're like followers of you guys, of the great work that you're doing. And we definitely wanted to share that with our couples who are listening.
We did. And I tell you, one of the things that you guys inspired us in is that just the level of accountability that we've had with each other. I know we live in different states, different cities, but I feel like that we're so connected as part of the community that we can kind of hold each other accountable.
Because we will show up at your front door.
You will show up.
We will.
You will show up. You will.
You definitely got to have some married couples in your corner.
That's right.
Yes, yeah.
Well, you guys
Love
keep
it.
taking us to the next level.
Exactly.
So we really
We feel the
appreciate
same
that.
way. I mean, you both have been amazing. I remember when we first met you both, how we had a book exchange. We're like, no, we got to get what they have. We got what that planner. We need that.
Yes, that is so true. But you guys are continuing to just pull out or put out more products and services that you're actually offering to the community. So I can't wait till we launch into that. But the first thing that we want to know about you all is, how did you meet and how long you guys been married?
So it was this one rainy day. It was on the campus.
Don't believe anything he says.
Okay, it was a sunny day.
I love
So
it.
the truth, my truth, okay,
Your truth.
my truth is that we both were at Villanova, and from the first time I stepped on campus, Candace saw me, and she secretly started to plot. This man is going to be my husband. She tried to play hard to get at first, like she didn't notice me because she was a senior and I was a freshman. She tried to act like she didn't know who I was, but slowly and
There's
slowly.
no truth in the story.
That sounds
At
like
least
a
let me get through it.
stalker.
I was trying to let you get through it before I acknowledge that there's no truth in the story. But I figure it's just best to.
All right, fine.
cut it out.
What's your version then?
We were at Villanova. That's the only
See?
true part.
That's the truth.
That is the only true part.
That was the truth.
That was the truth. We were at Villanova, and we just became friends. I mean, our story is kind of like the most unlikely story. We were just friends. We hung out. We were in the same circle of people. We were in the gospel choir together. We just kind of hung out and became connected.
She joined every group I joined. You see what I'm saying?
Still following you.
No, not at all. Completely unrelated. But, we were just kind of sharing the same spaces and got to know each other. I graduated and had some activities that kind of kept me connected to campus. So I would still kind of go up to campus. We participated in a few of those activities and really just built our friendship. And like over time, we truly became best friends, truly, and then transitioned into a relationship. And we've been married for 12 years.
She skipped out a part. She skipped out a
Well,
part. So we both graduated, right? And then we end up going to the same university for our master's degree.
Really?
So here's where the stalking part comes in.
Whoa.
So
On whose part?
her part.
Okay.
So we both ended up going to Drexel for our master's, 2 different master's programs. I would come out of my building to get on the bus to get to campus, right? Local bus in Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
And like probably about at least once a week, I would get on the bus and guess who would be on my bus? Guess who would be waiting for me on the bus?
No. I wasn't waiting for you. First of all, who enrolled in the master's program first? Me. Who came to the master's program after me?
Minor
me.
details.
And it was
Minor
just a coincidence that our bus route was the same. So I would get on and have to like see you and then go to school.
It's kind of like a car you want, and then you say, I don't hardly ever see that car. Then all of a sudden, when you start liking it, you start seeing it
All the
everywhere.
time.
But
All the time.
The heart of our story actually is that I was dating someone else for a period of years that was in our friend group. That relationship ended, and probably at that time we both thought I was going to get back with that person. And through our friendship continued to grow, we continue to get connected. And one of the things for me is I'm a type of person I would give to other people. That's just who I am. I've always been that type of person. But rarely did I have people that would give to me, that would look out for me. And I was in my master's program, catching the bus and train everywhere, coming home really late. I was going to rehearsal at my church for our drama ministry, coming home at probably like 1 o'clock and then having to get up again early the next day. And one day I came out of rehearsal and Candace was there with her car to pick me up, just off of the strength of our friendship. At least I want to believe it was something else, but it was nothing else, right? And it just hit me that like, wow, like she saw a need and was willing to be there when like I couldn't count on anyone else to really do that for me. So that started to shift, I think, how I saw her, how I thought about her. And our friendship just kept growing to the place where we were so close that people started to suspect us even before we suspected each other. Because we never thought about each other that, because we were just friends. And friends to best friends to like in the place that I lived with my old roommate, we had these 2 couches. We would sit across from each other. Then we'd be on the same couch, but apart. Then it would be like on the same couch, but next to each other. And just gradually.
Slow progression.
Ring around the couches.
So it was just a lot that, at least for me, mattered. And I think it was that Sunday school class that really hit you.
Yes.
Oh, really? The Sunday school class?
We had a Sunday school class for like young adults, and it was a young adult ministry. And we were in class one day, and somehow we were talking about partners. And, the person said, well, kind of just list out those characteristics that you would want in a spouse. And, but don't include the kindergarten answers like trust and honesty. Like that's a given. Like we all want those things. But think about those things that are unique to you. Like you might need and want something different than the person sitting next to you. And so I began to think, and at first, I'm like, okay, the honesty, trust, but I'm like, well, what about me? What is unique to me? And the first thing I thought about was communication, because that is something that's super important to me. But then I just was having trouble. And so then I just thought about George. And so then I was like,
about this guy.
and I just said, okay, because communication was easy because we were so close. Like we just talked all the time. And so I remember praying and like just thinking like, okay, God, like you can give me somebody like him that has all the characteristics like him. Like him. Like just give me somebody like that has all the same characteristics he has. Like that's good. And so I just kind of started to think about him as I listed each of the characteristics. I would think about our relationship and the characteristics, that were kind of important in that relationship and kind of listed out those characteristics.
Wow.
So when you were listing those characteristics, were you looking at George as you were listing those characteristics?
Not at all. I don't even like we were.
She had the fantasy. I mean, she had that.
I did not. I really was like, okay, God, this is great. I see how you put this friend in my life. So yeah, like you give me somebody like him. And it was still another couple of years when I was like, oh, I guess you did me one better. Like you gave me him, like not somebody like him. So
how long did you all date then before you got married?
So we actually dated probably about three and a half years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, total, we've known each other probably 21 years since 97.
Yes.
And then we dated for about 3 years, then got engaged in 2006 for about a year and a half, got married in 2007. Now we've been married 12 plus years.
That is amazing. So both of
Congratulations.
you all have your masters. You went to Drexler to get your masters in the same area or same school?
No,
What
see,
was your master's in?
this is where she lost the path,
Okay.
right? So
I got you.
she went into public health, and I went into mental health, marriage and family therapy.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you both got your doctorates as well, right?
Yes.
So did that happen before marriage or before kids, or when did the doctorates happen?
After marriage, and sort of in the process of children. So
Yeah.
Wow.
We were both enrolled in our doctorate programs when we got married, but we didn't complete it until after. And Candace had both of our children at pivotal points in her program.
when I defended my proposal for my dissertation, I found I was pregnant with our daughter. And then just before graduation, I found out I was pregnant with my son.
I guess you have to do something to relieve stress.
Yeah. Not the pregnancy part.
There we go.
So your doctorate is in what, Candace?
In public health.
In public health as well, and your doctorate
Clinical psychology.
clinical psychology.
Wow.
That is amazing. Then, so tell us a little bit. I know.
I
you
know.
may
I
have a
love the
question.
journey. No,
I do too.
I'm just intrigued. I mean, at her doing all of that, finding pregnancy, getting pregnant, then graduated, and then it's just a lot.
Yeah.
Superwoman. She's a power. This is a
Superwoman.
power couple.
Yeah, it is definitely
This
a
is
power
definitely a power
couple.
because
Takes
you
one to
can
know
do
one,
it.
but we'll accept it.
Yes.
Yes,
Awesome.
absolutely.
Love it.
So tell us about your ministries now. What you do now, because I know, George, we see you now on TV. We see
Everywhere.
you. We hear you on the radio. We hear everything that you're doing now, which is amazing. And then, Candace, you got a great new venture that we're so excited to communicate to our audience today. So you guys take it away and tell us what you're doing.
Yeah. So, from really early on, I think God has really pushed us to use our talents and gifts to impact families and couples in particular. We were engaged, and the couples ministry was at our church, and we were invited to be part of the leadership team. And so this was yearly classes that they would have once a month, and then they would end up doing a retreat. And even as an engaged couple, we were invited to be a part of it. And it was just amazing to be a part, because actually when we look back, it helped us in our marriage. We were learning from couples that were married like 30, 40 plus years, and we didn't realize how much they were downloading to us along the way. Even though we were teaching classes, we learned a lot. So for me, part of my work is to help couples as a licensed marriage and family therapist. And I've been able and fortunate to help people clinically in the office, but then also to take it out. And that might mean to speak or to teach or to write. And one of my passion is using media, right? Multiple platforms, whether that be television or radio or podcast or whatever it might be. I'm not as advanced as you all.
Give it up for the podcast, Power Couples Rock.
That's right.
That's right.
But being able to recognize that people will connect and learn and grow from different ways, not just coming to the office. And it's been a pleasure to really do a lot of work with Candace. And I remember even from the times when we were dating, it would be a prayer of ours of God, it would be great to be able to be with someone where we could do things together. And that really started to form early, where we would teach together, we would do workshops together, we would write together. We just did a seminar last week, right? And so throughout our relationship and marriage, God has allowed us to impact couples and families through just being able to be there and be educators and to be encouragers and supporters. So that's allowed me to do lots of things, and there's been lots of great things, but I've really been excited about the journey that Candace has been on, because when people see her now, when they think back to 10, 12, 15 years ago, she's so different, but yet the same. Thoughtful, passionate, creative, a smart thinker, but yet also dynamic in how she presents things. And she's been coming out of the box in so many ways, more and more. And so I'm just, as you mentioned earlier, I'm just extremely proud. So with that, I'll let you share what you've been up to.
Yes. Drum roll,
Thank
please.
you. Thank you.
Yes.
So, really, as a part of my journey in getting my doctorate degree, I was talking with a lot of women of color primarily, and I just was intrigued to hear their stories. Primarily, my research was about how issues of discrimination and inequality influences their health status and their health practices. And over and over again, the women just shared about messages they wish they would have heard growing up, messages of self-acceptance and love, and just really messages of encouragement that they felt like they didn't necessarily receive, whether it was from their families, whether it was from their larger circles, and definitely from society. And so after I graduated and finished, I really wanted to do something just to honor them and to honor their stories, honor what they share, and honor their intent to say, what they really wish they would have received as these messages. And so I feel like God just downloaded a poem originally in me. And I said, oh, okay, this is nice. Like, what do I do, with this? Like, this is a great poem. And maybe I don't know what to do with it. And then came the idea of a children's book, and to what better way to honor them and to honor their intention for girls to receive these messages, and really for all children to receive these messages of love and self-acceptance into developing a children's book. And so it was something super different for me, but I really just wanted to really pay homage to them, and to really say, okay, like, let's look at the world that we are presented with, and could we, create something? Could I be a part of creating something that parents or, other adult aunts and uncles and other people read to their children in their lives and encourage them and, just have conversations. So the book really just seeks to encourage them, to allow them to hopefully identify their own skills and talents as their own superpowers, because wouldn't we see them differently if we could see our own talents as superpowers? And whether we're not like the most overt skills or overt talent, but when that situation arises, we want that person that has that specific skill. And so what if we owned our own gifts as superpowers that God has blessed us with? And so that's the intention of the book. And then at the end of the book, I had a guide, basically. I have a guide so that the adults, in the lives of children can really navigate a conversation, facilitate a conversation with them, to ask some questions that maybe they haven't asked before, to kind of just talk them through. And there's a little poem that the children can create. And so that was just really my way of saying I wanted to honor, those women who participated and took the time to just share so much with me, but also to hopefully make a difference beyond my own research, beyond my own degree, but to kind of just do something that really respected the stories that they shared.
Wow. I am sitting here looking at this book now. It says Reflections of Me. And then I saw a little subtitle, Inspiring the Superhero Within. Tell me what this has meant for you to be able to read this and share it with your daughter.
Yes, it's been such a special journey. It's been a long journey. It's been a very long journey and frustrating journey at times. And at times I'm like, this is not going to happen. This is not this was some crazy idea. I should have let this go a long time ago. But it's really been a journey. It's really been just so amazing to share this with my own children. My daughter, who's my oldest child, I wanted to engage her. So I said that, originally, if the first primary audience is for, girls and girls of color, I wanted to engage her in the process. Does she understand the message? Does she understand the illustrations? And the illustrator was just amazing at engaging her and really taking her feedback seriously. And so, it's a very long process, but from original sketches, he would show her, and she took her job seriously. She's like, I don't like that. This person needs to be over here. This is really good. I really like this. I don't want that. And so she was just so specific. And it was funny because there was one page, we would get through all of it. She would always come back to that one page. She's like, I'm just not, filling this page. Like, she was like, if you want to give this message, the person needs to be pointed in this direction, because children are very direct. They're not abstract thinkers. Correct. And it was difficult for the illustrator to really kind of, the difficult process in trying to illustrate the more complex, thoughts. And so, they were like, she was supposed to be looking beyond herself. Mm-hmm. And, my daughter was like, this doesn't give me this thought. Like, this is not. And so there was probably 3 or 4 iterations. It kept on coming back to her. Where, finally, and the illustrator's like, got it, I'm changing this. And so she has really great thoughts. And she was she's so proud to say like she was a part of it. So when she's around, she's like, yes, and I was a part of it too. And that just really, I think, is so meaningful to be able to say that you can have a dream and you can go after it and you can do it, you know. And even my son, you know, like he there's a page in here that he really enjoys, and the page where he's kind of thinking about all the things that she can be. And he really just owns that message. And one day I said, what's your favorite page? And that's easy. Like without a blink, he went right there. And, you know, to be able to share this journey with them has been really special. And, you know, something that I know everyone doesn't get to do. And so I'm very, very grateful for it.
How long did the process take?
Oh, goodness. I think I originally, the poem was downloaded to me in 2012. And so from the original, I kind of started to put the poem together in 2012. And it was published in 2019. But I probably got to actively pursuing it as a children's book. The whole process, probably about 4 years. And then once I found, like, you know, kind of settled in on illustrations and all of that, the illustrator and all of that, about 3 years.
Well, it just goes to show you, God can give you a download.
Yes.
He's in control of the timing of it.
Yes.
But as you wrote it down. You didn't know exactly when it was to come into fruition.
Yes.
And I remember last year we talked about this.
We did.
Have these small pods at Eusebia where we get to, peel back and see what's happening in everyone's life. And Candace talked about her book coming to life, and she's like, I don't know when. And we were really praying, and because she showed us some samples of what it looked like, and it's so good to see how it's all come to life. And I love that it's different layers. Like there's a story involved, but then there's also activities of where the parent or caregiver or whoever's reading, they're questioned to engage conversation.
Yes.
You don't just close the book up and say the
Right,
end.
exactly.
I love that. And I'm actually going to get several copies for my nieces that I know and my friends that I know have little girls. And I know it can transfer to other kids, but I wanted to really get this because I think this is a great book for kids to have and to be inspired. I'm an adult and I'm smiling.
It's had that effect. I mean, we've had conversations with adult women and they start having this amazing conversation and going deep into their childhood, but also bringing right back to present day. And then, as Candace mentioned, like even in our household, our children love the book. I love it. I love reading the book to our kids, so much so like every time that I have an opportunity to read it with our kids, they want me to read it, and then they're like want me to do it in a different accent. Right? It's like, all right, today's Jamaican. Then it's like British. Then it's like robot. Then it's like cowboy. I mean, like I've read it in so many different styles, and they love it, and it's become just part of what we do. So it's just a great addition, and we're all really proud of Candace and how hard she worked with this.
Well, we are so happy that you were able to share this with our listeners on Power Couples Rock, and we're going to actually be sharing this with them to go to at the end. I guess you'll tell them where they can get this.
Absolutely.
And I want to encourage our listeners to get in. It is really, I'm looking at the cover. I've glanced through. I haven't read it through, but I'm going to do that.
Awesome. Thank you.
I'm looking forward to it and sharing it with my family and friends. So thank you
and George,
so much.
you actually have this. Yeah, congratulations to you. This is so awesome.
Thank you.
I know you've got a resource out there too. Can you just tell us about your resource?
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. Once again, I mentioned media has been one of those things, and I've been able to do some things. So one of the things, I was a part of a book project called, the name of it is The Call. It's for young men. And then last year I developed a product called First and 10, how to help couples get to their first 10 years of marriage. And regardless of how old you are, when you get married, that first 10 years can be a really difficult challenge.
Yes.
And so many things can happen from year 1 all the way to the 10th and beyond. And my just belief in just connecting with people is that if you could really work through those 10 years and everything that comes up, from whether it be about communication or about sex or about children or about finances, whatever it might be, if you can figure that out within those 10 years, it can really help you to get way beyond that. And so it's a coaching product where it's an audio thing for couples where they can listen to it and just really zone in. And some of it's been things we learned from our own marriage are things we learned from other couples that I was able to put into it.
Does the First and 10 have a sports theme to it, or how did First and 10 come up?
It was actually a conversation with some friends of just trying to think of, okay, 10 years, how do we get to your first 10 years? And then someone was like, well, first and 10. And so I did try to infuse some football references, right? Of just to get to that first down, right? You have to get those 10 yards,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And so the thought of like, whatever you do on play 1 or 2 or 3, the goal is to get to the 10 yards, right? And then eventually, if you keep getting those 10 yards, you're going to get a touchdown. And the thing about relationships and marriage is that if you just keep working at it, you'll get to a long-lasting, healthy relationship. But like in football, lots of things can happen. You can have an interception. You can have a fumble. You can have lots of things. You could turn over the ball and end the game.
You can get sacked.
Right. And so how to avoid some of those pitfalls and some of those challenges so that you could get touchdown after touchdown and really have a good, healthy relationship.
I love this,
Awesome.
Dan. And you're here at Eusebia, and I'm sure that's one area that you can score a touchdown in when you're making those intentional investments into your marriage.
Yes.
Our theme for this year is clean. And that's so profound for me. But we would love our listeners to hear your thoughts on what it means to be clean or have a clean marriage.
Well, I too, I agree. It's such a profound thought. It's something that I don't think we think about often. And, it was funny. We were just talking about in our pod when we first kind of got the theme and the questions. We're like, oh, Dr. Arnold.
Here he goes again.
Here we go again. You can't just come with some surface like I got to answer. I already have a spiel. You have to make me think about this actually. But it was awesome because we really, began to think about, well, what does a clean space mean and what does it require? And I think one of the great things that really came out of our discussion was that cleanliness takes a lot of work, that you can't you don't clean a room. And even if you don't go in it at all, it will acquire dirt and dust.
Yes.
If you don't do anything, so you have to always be working to keep it clean. Like if you're not actively working to keep it clean, it's automatically going to be contaminated. And what does that mean for our marriages? Like there is no point in our marriage where we can just coast and be on autopilot because as soon as we kind of think we're there, we think we're on autopilot, that dust is going to set in. Those contaminants are going to come and a lot of times catch us off guard because we thought that we weren't doing anything to make it dirty. But, that's a natural process. Our stressors and our life kind of natural way is kind of bringing in those contaminants. And so we have to be so vigilant in our marriages to be actively cleaning and kind of figuring out what that means at different stages of your marriage. And I think for us, and for me, certainly it's really about seeking God more and seeking God about, just enhancing my relationship with God so that he can bring me closer to George and to help me really be the spouse that I'm supposed to be and help us as a couple produce the fruit that he's designed us to produce. Because without that, we can settle and we can just kind of be on what we think is autopilot, doing our own thing, but it's not glorifying him. And we're just leaving it on the table. God's like, well, you could have done this, but you decided to settle over here.
Ooh.
Well, what are some of
That's
those
good.
contaminants you were talking about?
So one of the things that we talked about that really kind of impacted me and just thinking about this theme is the thought of really the role of stress in relationships or even the stress that we can feel. Like we're busy, we do a lot. And so there's stressors that come all the time. And just like dirt, you're not going to get rid of it, right?
No.
It's just, meaning like it's just there,
Yeah.
right? And if you don't do anything, it piles up and becomes overwhelming. And we've realized how stress can impact us, right? Where I'm like, I can know like, oh yeah, she's stressed today, right? Between like she has a class and then something's going on with one of our children and then something's happened with a family member. And then all I hear is, or something else. And I'm like, oh, right, she's dealing with something. And then I could so focus on her that I'm not focusing on myself because I'm feeling some of those same stressors. And so the thought of like being aware of those contaminants and how they impact us and what we're doing about it, and even acknowledging, especially for us, how much are we communicating? How much are we taking time? How much are we inviting God into that space? How much are we taking a rest or a break so that we can recharge? And that, to me, that's one of the ways that we can allow our relationship to be clean, is to actively be aware of the stressors, but really of how we deal with those stressors. And if we do that, usually then we're in a good place. But when we're off, that's when it takes over. And not to really go down this path, but what was interesting is like this week, one of the classes I teach is around violence and abuse in the family. And we had a guest presenter that was really talking about sexual assault and rape and so forth. He was talking about one of the date rape drugs, right? And how one of those drugs works is that it is clear and it is odorless. You do not know that it is in your drink. And so it can appear like everything is fine. And so when Dr. Arnold was really talking about like, you know, how it can look good on the outside, but it could be messy on the inside, it really just made me think about how there could be some contaminants that are clear and odorless that you don't think is really affecting you until you are knocked out or until it takes you out, until it destroys what you've established. And there are lots of things. It could be money, it could be sex, it could be whatever, all these different things. And so it just made me also think about what are those odorless and clear things that are also contaminated.
Okay, that's a tweetable moment.
That is. tweet on that. That is good.
That's really good.
Ooh, we got to digest that.
I know we really do. So thank you all for giving us your version of clean. That is a whole different lens of looking at clean and what that looks like. Encourage our couples on everything that you guys have been through. You guys are well educated and well spoken, and we're just honored to be in your presence. And you've got a tremendous amount of experience, and you've done the work. You've made the investment into your marriage, and we can tell whenever we see you guys, dude, we know you guys are on the next level. So encourage our couples of what they would need to do in order to have a healthy marriage and not get caught in that odorless, clear contamination that could destroy their marriage.
You know, I think one of the greatest blessings that we had was that we were truly friends. And I think some of the things that happen in a marriage is you lose that friendship. You know, you're so busy kind of in the routine of life and routine of marriage. You begin to lose the things that you just kind of used to do, the relationship that you used to enjoy, the friendship that you used to have. And I think doing things that deliberately builds that friendship is super important. And when we think about those trouble spaces, you know, I would say one of my biggest encouragements is to really see God in that, and to the best that we can really be active in submitting to God's will. Because, you know, at times we're just trying to do so much in our own strength. You know, we're trying to fix our partner. We're trying to fix ourselves. We got it together. We know what we need. You know, it's so much I. And God's like, I just really need you to submit to me.
Wow.
And if you can submit to me, then I can like shape this and I can reshape this. And through your transparency and your vulnerability, it might be messy, but I brought this person here to help you navigate through that mess and not to be afraid of the mess. You know, we give our hearts to our spouse and then we don't want to be vulnerable, you know, all of a sudden. And so, you know, allow them that space, I think is so important because God can use them in that space. But a lot of times we like to put the caution tape, like, don't step over the line. Like, you know where the line is, don't go there. Yes. But God's like, no, you know, let them in because I can, like, if you submit to me, I can use them in that space and I can release you from, you know, whether it's childhood hurts or previous things or just issues, you know, really just submitting to God, taking the attention off the spouse that you might think you have an issue with and submitting to God. Like, God, what do you want me to learn from this? Clearly, you didn't take it away in the last decade. So what am I supposed to be learning? Step B. Okay, well, I got that point. You're not taking it away. You know, Paul, okay, I got it. You're not taking it away. So what am I supposed to be getting from this? Right. You know, and submitting to God. And I think when we truly submit to God, we see the partner, we see the issue. And oftentimes God can still remove it but use it, you know, use it to be, to really just glorify him at the end of the day and unite us more.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, what I'd add to that is, you know, sometimes I don't know if it's an intersection of just God's favor, if we're just really fortunate, but I'm thankful that we have such a good marriage, right? And I'm blessed for that. But I can look at specific things that have helped us to get there. And one of those things is just that we've been able to spend good quality time with each other. I've seen and heard couple after couple after couple just get taken out easily just because they don't spend time with each other, right? And how quickly that can happen. And I think that's one of those odorless things, right?
Yes.
It just seems so natural to just, oh, well, I'm busy, I'm doing something. We don't have the time, or we don't have someone to watch the kids, or we don't have the money, or whatever it is. These things that are so normalized or just natural on some level that can take you out. And even in our hardest times, we've somehow been fortunate to have time to spend with each other. And we've had people that have been there. And that's what I mean about God's favor, where, you know, my mother-in-law has been living with us for almost 9+ years, right? And so that's not the plan we drew up. That's not how we expected it to happen. But because of that, she's also helped us to go on date night. She's also helped us to go on overnights. She's also helped us to do, and our community has helped us to do that. And we've been in this busy time of trying to move and do lots of things. And, you know, not that long ago, we were like, oh, you know, we haven't had a date night. We need a date night. And Candace goes, well, we got Eusebia. It's coming up, right? Because we know, like, so because for us, we know that is our recharge. If we don't have that time together, right, we start to lose each other, and then we start to act out, and we start to lose God, and we start all that stuff. But knowing that there's a time that we're going to reconnect and not miss each other. So it is simple. It is like ground level stuff, but we mess up the ground level stuff and we stop connecting. So for us, it's just knowing that we have time. I love Candace. I love our friendship. I love the time that I learned from her. Like today, we're like in this deep philosophical conversation on the way down, talking about slavery and Declaration of Independence, while then slipping in talking about finances and then like what we need to buy for the house. Like we're in and out of these amazing conversations. And I'm like, that's my wife. Like I love this chick, right? Like this is who I'm with, but it's because we get to spend time together. And so that would be my advice and my encouragement is that don't let the distractions, those odorless things, those things that are so common, get in the way of you spending time with the person that you gave your heart to.
Yes, love it.
Amen.
Wow.
Amen.
We could go on and on with you guys, but what I want to do is find out how can they get in touch with you all? How can they find out how to connect with you all? Can you let out in the book, where can they get it? Give us that, and then that way we can get charged up. And there's a lot of things that you guys have shared that has just encouraged me, and I know our listeners have been encouraged.
So I'll give you some of the technical stuff, and then Candace, you can tell where they can get the book. So website is georgetalks.com. On social media, you can connect with me at George Talks for Instagram and Twitter. For Candace, it is at Candy Rob James. That's Candy ROB James. And for the book, Instagram is at Reflections of Me Book. All right.
And then on Facebook is at Reflections of Me Book 1 is my handle. And the book can be purchased at Amazon or Barnes and Noble. Yeah.
Just Reflections of Me, and you can add Candace. But now if you just put Reflections of Me, most likely it will pop up.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, if you can't find it, Reflections of Me and Candace.
Guys, you've got to go and search this couple out. You will not be disappointed. In our conversation today, words that were coming to mind for me were togetherness, legacy, family focus, determination, intentionality. All of those things were just resonating with me as they were sharing their stories and their wisdom and their insights regarding marriage and family. And I really appreciate what you guys have shared with us today and our audience today.
Yes, thanks for taking time out and spending with us and connecting with our audience. We appreciate it.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
So let's get
Powered up!
Thanks for listening to the Power Couples Rock podcast. We hope that you've been encouraged, inspired, and supported. Please listen and subscribe to our other Power Pods, as we are confident that they will strengthen your marriage. Also, don't forget to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. It's there where we can extend these discussions together, take these conversations and your marriage to the next level. Enjoy your day and power up.